Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Girivardhari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I got my phone if you want. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Aho Mamami Vitaranti Anugraham. This is, by the way, Canto 4, Chapter 21, Instructions by Maharaj Prithu, Text 36. Harim Gurum Yagyabhujam Adisvaram Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka Nirantaram Kshonitale Dridhavrata. Aho Mamami Vitaranti Anugraham. Harim Gurum Yagya Bhujam Adisvaram Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka Nirantaram Shonitale Dridhavrataha. Aho Mamami Vitaranti Anugraham. Harim Gurum Yagya Bhujam Adisvaram Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka Nirantaram Shonitale Dridhavrataha. Aho Mamami Vitaranti Anugraham. Harim Gurum Yagya Bhujam Adisvaram Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka Nirantaram Shonitale Dridhavrataha. Aho Mamami Vitaranti Anugraham. Harim Gurum Yagya Bhujam Adisvaram
Swadharma Yogena Yajanti Mamaka
Nirantaram Shonitale Dridhavrataha. Aho, all of you. Mama, unto me. Ami, all of them. Vitaranti, distributing. Anugraham, mercy. Harim, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gurum, spiritual master. The Supreme Spiritual Master. Yagyabhujam, all the demigods eligible to accept yajna offerings. Adisvaram, the Supreme Master. Svadharma, occupational duties. Yogena, by dint of. Yajanti, worship. Mamaka, having a relationship with me. Nirantaram, incessantly. Shonitale, on the surface of the globe. Dridhavarta, with firm determination. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master and enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices, and He is the Supreme Spiritual Master as well. All of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me are worshipping Him by dint of your occupational duties. Thank you. And all of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me and are worshipping Him by dint of your occupational duties are bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. Purport. Maharaj Prithu's advice to his citizens to take to devotional service is now concluded in two ways. He has repeatedly advised persons who are neophytes to engage themselves in devotional service according to the capacities of the different orders of social and spiritual life. But here he specifically thanks those already engaged in such devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is actually the enjoyer of all sacrificial ceremonies, and who is also the Supreme Teacher as Antaryami, or Paramatma. There is specific mention of the word Gurum, which indicates the Supreme Personality as Chaitya Guru. The Supreme Godhead in His Paramatma feature is present in everyone's heart, and He is always trying to induce the individual soul to surrender unto Him and to engage in devotional service. Therefore, He is the original spiritual master. He manifests Himself as spiritual master both internally and externally to help the conditioned soul both ways. Therefore, He has been mentioned herein as Gurum. It appears, however, that in the time of Maharaj Prithu, all the people on the surface of the globe were His subjects. Most of them, in fact, almost all of them, were engaged in devotional service. Therefore, He thanked them in a humble way for engaging in devotional service and thus bestowing their mercy upon him. Therefore he thanked them in a humble way for engaging in devotional service and thus bestowing their mercy upon him. In other words, in a state where the citizens and the head of state are engaged in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they help one another and are mutually benefited. Om Gyanti Manudasya Jananjana Shalakya Chakshun Militamina Tatsmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagaramayam Tadati Svavarantigam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, repeated translation. Oh goodness, sorry. 33. We accept. Chapter 20. I'm sorry. 2 seconds. Oh, here we go. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master and enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. And he is the Supreme Spiritual Master as well. All of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me and are worshipping him, by dint of your occupational duties, are bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. So, Prabhupada writes in the last sentence in the purport. In other words, in a state where the citizens and the head of state are engaged in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality Godhead, they help one another and are mutually benefited. So we have King Vena being just the opposite of Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj is so humble here. He's an incarnation. Shakti Vaishya avatar, indirect, but still totally empowered with the Vaishya, empowered to rule, because that was what was needed at the time, because King Vena did such a bad job stopping all sacrifices. And so we here see the contrast, how the proper way to rule. Vena is stopping all sacrifices, for God, saying, I am God, and you all just have to worship me. And what are you doing? You're acting like a paramour, by wanting to worship something other than me. I'm the proper husband for you all. So, whereas Prithu Maharaj is playing quite a humble role here. Here he is thanking the citizens, for being so kind to bestow mercy upon him. Because this is the natural system. You have a leader that's Krishna conscious, and that leader, helps everybody properly. Here we see actually by studying this chapter, we can learn all about how to rule, the proper mentality, how to max out everybody, including yourself, getting the mercy of Krishna, and everybody going back home. As Prabhupada wrote that wonderful. Well, I don't know if Prabhupada wrote it. It was a collection of Prabhupada's writings, Civilization and Transcendence. We're trying to build a civilization and transcendence. Prabhupada said this is a society of hogs and dogs where everybody's trained up to become cats and dogs. Prabhupada says everybody's trained up to be cats and dogs. It's a society of cats and dogs where everybody's trained up to become hogs in their next lifetime. There we go. So, this is like Vena's program. It's actually worse than Vena's program. They're just completely enamored, completely bewildered. At least Vena was like outright trying to, was outspoken about it. Today everybody's just completely bewildered. The leaders are just completely puppets in the modes of nature. And everybody just doesn't have a clue except for, the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. So, we see that if one does not, the citizens, if they do bad things, then the king gets a reaction for that, a certain percentage of the reaction. I think it's a sixth, but I can't remember. And just the same, if they do good things, then he gets benefited. So, of course, the good things are not material pious activities, because any material activity is all a bad thing, course, it's better to be good than bad, but we all want to, transcend. And that's the whole purpose. This is another part of what the king's program is, to do. The proper duty of a real king is to engage people in Varnashram Dharma. This is the perfect system for gradually elevating everyone transcendentally. Of course, Prithvi Maharaj is making it clear in previous verses that, this devotional service is completely where it's at. We want to realize God. As the beginning of his address to the people, he's making the point. Disregarding the atheists that Prabhupada mentions that are maybe in the audience, or is in the audience, disregarding them and approaching, the innocent and the pious souls that believe in God. And pointing out that really it's all about God realization. If we realize the whole and the complete, then we feel whole and complete. So we have to end our King Vena program and adopt the Prithvi Maharaj program. But we have to be careful while adopting the Prithvi Maharaj program, because Prabhupada says, this tendency to want to become the leader, the guru, the great scholar, the this and that can be wrong motive. Whereas Prithvi Maharaj is nicely pointing out that he's just a servant. He's actually playing the role of a servant of Krishna, of course, but he's playing that humble role, like I am just here. He asks the leaders of before he's an incarnation. He can just say, "I want this done," but instead he says, "Is this okay with you all, nice Brahmanas and Vaishnavas? If I present this plan to you for your approval." He's playing the role perfectly right. So the more we get into the mode of being a servant, it's really the only intelligent way to go. Servant of the Vaishnavas. And without this program, it ends up, we don't last in Krishna consciousness. Because it's not smart. It's not smart to feed our subtle sex desire of, wanting to be the leader. I am everybody worship me. It's the same disease manifesting even within, ISKCON it could. So, of course, Krishna knows what's going on. He'll tolerate, and other Vaishnavas will tolerate, and hopefully a person will get purified, and he does get purified. I'm speaking about myself. I'm getting purified. So we get free from these tendencies to want to become the leader and the guru and this and that. But really the only position, the only identity, as Lord Chaitanya is pointing out, here God himself coming down. I think he made this nice point, Prabhu, yesterday. He came down just to show us how to be a devotee. That happened only 500 years ago. We have all the books. This is the most incredible opportunity possible. We're so fortunate. We have no idea. And he's making the comment, I don't want all these things. I don't want to become he's basically saying this isn't my prime motive. If Krishna wants him to have it, that's fine. But he says he doesn't want doesn't want to pray for followers, big entourage. He doesn't pray for a beautiful wife. He doesn't pray for material opulence. He's just praying for devotional service. And also another point, he's saying, I'm not any of these things. I'm not a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, or Brahmachari, Sannyasi, or whatever. These are all, can be contaminations, but if one identifies with that more than what he says later, which is my only identity is that I'm a servant of a servant of the servant of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, the maintainer of the gopis. So this is the proper mentality that we need to have to adopt. And why? Why should we adopt this mentality? If we just analyze it, we see that, being anything but who we are is not going to make us happy, right? We've played the game for over 20 million births, Prabhupada says. Prabhupada says we've been here crores of lifetimes. A crore is 10 million. So crores, at least 20 million and one births, or 20 million births. We've been here trying to play that role, and it just doesn't work. So, because everybody else is trying to play it too. And it's not our position anyways. And so we can finally, as Prabhupada says, he says, "You all are rascals." You all are rascals. I'm not saying you're rascals, but I'm definitely a rascal. And in Prabhupada saying, hey, Parameswara Das, you rascal, surrender to Krishna. This is your program. This is the only thing that'll work. You have to surrender. Everybody's surrendered. It's like, what's this thing? We were talking to this guy yesterday at the table. He was actually really cool, but he made the comment, he realized that maybe I can't accept this God thing because I don't like authority. But the point is that you are already surrendered to authorities. You already are. You can't, you're forced. Your authority being material nature. You're forced. You already surrendered. Your body's gonna die. You surrender the government, whether you like it or not. You're forced to. You're always surrendering. So why not? The intelligent person is going, well, since I am surrendering, and I've always surrendered, let me surrender to that is going to give me the greatest benefit. Right? And Krishna, he's perfect. And ISKCON is an incarnation of Krishna. A lot of people don't want to surrender within the authority structure within ISKCON. Well, what are we saying? We should consider, the process that Prabhupada and Krishna has established. One wants to know the truth, approach a spiritual master. So, why? Because these people that have seen the truth can show it to others. Otherwise, as I forgot which verse that one is, I'm sure Prabhu knows. And all of you know, because you all live with him, and you probably know 10 times more verses than any other temple people, devotees have. The one where it says, if you don't surrender, if you don't serve a guru or somebody, a guru, then you end up just seeing external things, like the clouds. An ordinary person sees just clouds in the sky, but but those great individuals, the elevated brahmanas and Vaishnavas, they can see the transcendental abode always. So since they can see the transcendental abode always, they can show it to others. So this is the program. It's a gift. This is such the beauty of ISKCON also, and Krishna's. I've noticed some few years ago, I noticed that this is so magnanimous, the way Krishna establishes the process. Is he takes like just a jiva soul like myself, who is like a complete whatever, nonsense, and can take somebody like, I'll speak for you guys, take somebody that you might not have been following all four regular principles your whole life, and then you become a nice Vaishnava. And then by rendering service to this person, you can actually realize God. It's just it completely destroys the false ego. Because if you were just to do that directly with Krishna, it wouldn't be the same. I mean, of course it will be just the same, but for your false ego, to kill this concept that Krishna can make a jiva soul into a guru, it's so beautiful if you think about it. And that's purport says, if we read the first chapter in CC, the spiritual masters, we see that Krishna is non-different from this external manifestation. This is Krishna coming externally, as it says right here as well in the purport. He appears as the internally and externally as the spiritual master. And so we don't have any excuses. It completely annihilates the false ego if we apply it, if we have the intelligence to apply it. It's really just a matter of intelligence. Prabhupada says the intelligent person makes it. Only the wise man makes it. The intelligent person, continues in his Krishna consciousness and finishes up. So we have to utilize this buddhi, that's what's called buddhi yoga, intelligence. We have to apply our intelligence in this by reading and studying Prabhupada's books. And letting everything go through that intelligence. Is this the right way to go? Is this the smart way to do things? And then we really see, we take advantage of being able to serve such nice Vaishnava we have here, Prabhu here. Take advantage of that opportunity. Be careful of getting too familiar. Rendering service, applying the process of Krishna consciousness, as opposed to what I'm thinking today, how I'm viewing things today. But look through the eyes of the Shastra. Okay, this is how Krishna says it is. I'm going to just apply it, whether my mind says or not. And we actually see, since this is a science, we actually get the result. So, and this kills the thing that's keeping us here for 20 crores. It just inoculates it. It kills it. It immediately kills it. If we apply the science, right? I've been told that Prabhupada said the greatest verse of the Vedas is, Prabhupada's telling us what the greatest verse of all the Vedas. There's millions and millions of verses, and he's saying the greatest one is having full faith in Guru and Krishna. All the purports of the Vedas are revealed automatically. What? Thank you. I spaced that one out. Right. I'm surprised I survived that for messing that up. But yeah. So this is, if one is intelligent, this is the greatest verse. Okay, let me keep that in the forefront of my consciousness out of all the other verses. That's the greatest one. So just by remembering this greatest verse, we can apply full faith in Guru and Krishna. Tendency is right? If we consider, in another place, we have the 10 offenses we're reading every morning, but at one other place where it's described the 10 offenses, it says to blaspheme devotees, to not have complete faith in the Guru, and to see him as an ordinary person. So that's a little extra thing that you'll find, I think, in the CC, if I'm not mistaken. You'll see him, to see him as an ordinary person. So this tendency, we again go through the Shastra and apply the science, and we get the result. It works perfectly all the time. That's my experience. And this way we don't create all we don't minimize our progress, max out our progress. And then Krishna can give us leadership positions if we apply the process. Not that we want that in the sense of, we just want to serve Krishna, so if Krishna wants me to have it, then I want it. But I don't want it independently. So by doing that, then we become more and more empowered, and we get more and more nectar. We're all pleasure-seeking living entities. But ultimately, we want to adopt and not take the position of Radharani, but adopt her, the greatest Guru, and Nityananda, the greatest gurus, is their mentality. Radharani is just all about giving Krishna pleasure, even at the expense of her own pleasure. So sometimes we might do japa and we don't feel the pleasure. Doesn't matter. It brings Krishna pleasure. My Guru wants me to do this. My spiritual master wants me to do this, so I will do it nicely. With this kind of mentality. This is actually using the intelligence to its maximum degree. And if we apply our intelligence in such a way, we do get the results. Whereas I believe Krishna gave all kinds of benedictions, but to the gopis, who gave everything. They really gave everything. They sacrificed everything. And he gave the benediction that you will just be satisfied with your service. That's the highest benediction. So this is to aspire for these highest things. That's why reading the Guru, at least I think it was Savas Prabhu said that he asked Prabhupada, how can we increase our book distribution? And he apparently said to chant all your rounds at one time and read the Shikshastika verse every day. If I'm not mistaken, that's what he said. So that not Shikshastika, I'm sorry, Sad Goswami Astika, please forgive me. The 6 Goswamis, 8 verses there. That is, each one of those verses is talking about the very highest, most ideal. And when we read it every day, recite it every day, then we're reminded of this highest ideal. And how far, at least I got to go. So I got to work hard. Can't get complacent. Can't take it easy. We got to work hard. So by doing this and aspiring for this highest ideal, we actually make leaps and bounds of progress. And we stay enlivened in our Krishna consciousness by staying in the stretch zone. You do too much though, right? You get burned out. You do too little, Maya just snags you. Either way, Maya snags you if you do too much or too little. But staying in the middle of that stretch zone, you just get absorbed. And transcend time and experience our real nature, which is blissful. Even if we don't experience so-called spiritual pleasure, we've given up the material pleasure. See, and so we can we might not feel the spiritual pleasure, but if we strive for this highest ideal, then it doesn't matter. And then the second we go, it doesn't matter, automatically we experience something even greater. Satisfaction in Krishna consciousness, immediately. So, it's getting kind of almost late there. Yeah. We got 10 more minutes. Well, I guess I could stop here. Oh, and let me just make a comment on book distribution. How about? So we have, so nicely explained that here we have Srila Prabhupada coming to this world and giving us, basically just handing us, not only handing it to us, but creating this fence around us and prodding us into, the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I mean, the topmost stuff possible, and giving us that stick when we need it, we're ignorantly, propelling ourselves the wrong way, and so forth. He really went all out. Gave it to us on a silver platter and more. And spoon-fed it to us, and so forth and so on. My God. And here we have that opportunity to reciprocate with the greatest gift possible. Prabhupada gave us the greatest association, the greatest literature, the greatest worship, the greatest absolutely everything. Foodstuffs, everything. So all we have to do is just reciprocate. That'll actually complete the process by going, okay, if we're intelligent, we're going to go, I've been given the greatest gift possible. And now, if I don't reciprocate, what happens if we don't reciprocate is we don't process it properly or something. We don't receive the gift enough. But if we actually give back, and giving back to trying to repay the debt to the spiritual master, one's considered a laughingstock. But we can try to by preaching and giving that gift to others. It's the duty of the fortunate to make the unfortunate fortunate. Then we continue with our fortune. If we give Krishna, the more we give Krishna to others, the more we get Krishna. And as nice Prabhu was saying, distributing the books, most important activity, Prabhupada said so many different times. And so we can try to do that in a nice way, leaving a favorable impression upon the people. And in this way, we can increase our fortune. And really, we're increasing our fortune when we become already most fortunate. It means, adopting that mentality of Radharani, that she's not even interested in her own pleasure, just Krishna's pleasure. Whether she gets pleasure or not. Even if she gets pain, suffering. If it brings Krishna pleasure, she prefers that over her own pleasure. So that's the utmost mentality. So book distribution is an incredible opportunity for that, because it might not be the most heavenly experience. You leave the situation in the temple generally, and you go out into this hellish world. SanDiego is not such a hellish place, but it kind of still is. It's not as hellish as other places, but still it's pretty darn hellish. It's Kali Yuga. And temperatures, you can't even talk about bad temperature here. But sometimes, I guess, if you always live in SanDiego, maybe it's 46 out. that's probably really cold for you all. So okay. That's a lot. So, still, I mean, there's always mosquito. Well, you don't even probably have mosquitoes here. Anyways, you got a lot of probably pretty crazy people here that you don't get elsewhere. All right. So you got some things there in SanDiego that you don't get elsewhere that's kind of hellish. So to tolerate this. And when that stuff hits you, just remember, it's not about bringing Krishna pleasure. Trying to adopt Radharani's mentality. It's about bringing Krishna pleasure. If it brings Krishna pleasure, it's uncomfortable for me to get up at 3 a.m. or whatever it is and say Hare Krishna every syllable attentively. It's like, I don't know. But if it brings my spiritual master, even more we should think, if it brings my spiritual master pleasure, then I will adopt it. And if we have this, even if you don't even get a taste your whole 16 rounds, still adopting this 8th Shikshastika verse, right? Whether Krishna handles me roughly by his embrace or leaves me brokenhearted, he is still my worshipable Lord. Whether Krishna gives me a spiritual taste or not, I'm going to continue. He is my worshipable Lord. If we can adopt this mentality, we've already won the game. You've beaten your enemies in the heart. So I'll stop there. Any comments or questions?
So, what would you say is a way, because, like determination is very important in Krishna consciousness. So maybe you could just maybe share some of your whatever experiences, realizations, or kind of convictions in relation of how to develop determination or how to keep determination.
Well, when Gandhi wanted to take India back from the British, he adopted brahmachari, right? He became celibate. So celibacy helps with determination. Not breaking vows. It's described that a killer, his first guy he kills is a big deal. It's a huge deal. After about the second or third time, it's no big deal. So keeping our vows, don't break them. Even once, ever. That helps. And read Prabhupada's books. I mean, I get a little mental when I don't read Prabhupada's books enough. I get mental. And then when you get mental, you can lose your intelligence. You can think all this weird stuff. So if our intelligence is nicely situated by reading Prabhupada's book and being reminded of the goal, the supreme goal, always and associating with Prabhupada and these great souls and Krishna, and just reminded, what is it? You remember that it's an emergency program. That's my experience. If I don't read enough, I forget that it's an emergency. There's a fire in the house and we have to get out now. And maybe desires to try to, I think I can get a room in that house. Yeah, fire's not that close yet. I think I can, at least for a little while. You don't have those thoughts so much, right? Or if at all. So, and then it's just keeping that intelligence intact. And really what it comes down to is utilizing that intelligence. If we're intelligent, we're going to be a servant of the Guru. And then what do you want me to do, Guru? You want me to continue my Krishna consciousness? You want me to still chant 16? You still want me to go and distribute some books? Okay, yes, Master. Otherwise, it's yes, mind. Yes, the Guru that was the Guru for 20 million births that put me back into a womb again. And that's not smart. So just applying that intelligence. I mean, that's best I can think of. And associating with those that are servants of their Guru. And if you need to associate with somebody that's not a real fixed up servant of a guru, you have to make him one if you can associate with him. Otherwise, you're going to get influenced. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So, you were mentioning adopting the mentality of Radharani, and you mentioned the last verse in the SikShastakam. And I was reading a bit further, and there's a question I have about a verse in a purport. I'll read it really quickly. I'll read the verse and then just part of the purport. It says, I do not mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna, for his happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels great happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. So that's the verse, and then Prabhupada, in the purport, he says, those who are very materialistic, however, who are very proud of material wealth and have no spiritual knowledge, like the Prakrita Sahajiyas, regard their own happiness as the aim of life. Some of them aspire to enjoy themselves by sharing the happiness of Krishna. This is the mentality of fruitive workers who want to enjoy sense gratification by making a show of service to Krishna. So I kind of have a question about those last two sentences there. Some of them aspire to enjoy themselves by sharing the happiness of Krishna. And you had mentioned Krishna's benediction to the gopis, saying, may they be satisfied by their service. So how do we understand? And also, like, when we may be preaching and we say, oh, you want to abandon material happiness, quote-unquote happiness, and seek spiritual happiness. So how do we, but I don't know, in relation to this part here, some of them aspire to enjoy themselves by sharing the happiness of Krishna. How do we understand those?
Could you repeat that a little more clear? What you just said? I didn't quite hear you. The sentence that you read there.
Oh, okay. Some of them aspire to enjoy themselves by sharing the happiness of Krishna. That's what he said. This is the mentality of fruitive workers who want to enjoy sense gratification by making a show of service to Krishna.
That's it's interesting. Could you explain that one? Yeah.
The way I see it here is that, in other words, you start out with the motive, I want to enjoy. In other words, you're not giving that up. And you're seeing, you hear Krishna's Leela, you read about, you're in the culture where you're aware of Krishna's supreme enjoyment and how he enjoys with the gopis, enjoys with the friends and so forth. And so you want to, enjoy like that. I mean, you want to join Krishna and enjoy. That's your motive. Your motive is not to increase Krishna's enjoyment. Your motive is to enjoy and join the party. So he says, this is the mentality of the fruitive workers who want to enjoy sense gratification by making a show of service to Krishna. So the idea is that you're holding on, even though you may go to a Bhagavat reading or something, and it sounds like this is the it's part of what the Prakrita Sahajas do. I'm not sure why Prabhupada differentiates in them, because the Prakrita Sahajas, what does it actually mean? It means they maintain their material mentality. That's the Prakrita part, and the Sahajiya part is that it's easy. All you got to do is dance and chant and think of Krishna's Leela with the idea that I'm going to enter in there and enjoy like that. You don't have the service mentality. You have the crashing the party kind of mentality, and that's a fruitive mentality. You can't say that that's the mentality of all fruitive workers, because many fruitive workers don't even know about Krishna. But when the fruitive mentality is superimposed upon all the things that are attractive about Krishna consciousness, then that's what you get, And you see over the history of ISKCON, people who maintain that mentality, when the going got rough and things happen, then they disappear. Because that's not part of the program. Part of the program is all the things that are pleasurable, in Krishna consciousness. And actually, you can see it on an elementary level, which, we all kind of struggle with, especially at the beginning. And that is, when the prasadam comes out, you get into an enjoying mentality. And before long, you say, oh, I can't believe I ate so much, And then you realize you're farther away from your Krishna consciousness than you were when you were serving out the prasadam or working in the kitchen or going out and distributing. So that's a case where the foolish mentality takes over, and I think that's what Prabhupada is talking about here. That's about the best I can do.
Thank you very much.
So, sorry, I just have a question, or confirmation. So the way to curb that fruit mentality is to keep in mind the, like in the last ISKCON verse, in the last sentence, it says, "Still my worshipable Lord forever." So we should use the logic and the reason behind why Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to curb, and why we should worship Him in order to curb that fruit mentality. Does that make sense? Or should I reword it? Okay, sorry.
I mean, the trick is to maintain the service attitude in any situation. Just like, again, taking the Sunday feast, okay? We could always be coming up on another Sunday feast or holiday feast or something coming up. So, not that we shouldn't honor prasadam. There's a place that obviously we should do that. That's also a service in the right mentality. But what can I do to facilitate? Is it serving out? Is it something, to clean up or something? Maintain that service attitude at all times. And you find out that that's a way of enjoying. Like it's my little trick, my little motto I put. If you serve out the feast, you're able to enjoy everybody's feast. If you sit down at the beginning of the feast, when we still need servers, then you're enjoying. It's okay. You're taking prasadam, but you're missing out on that nectar of serving out. So it's kind of it's not. There's all kinds of ways of doing it, but the main point is to maintain this service mentality even when you sit down and take the feast. Then you understand, okay, I'm honoring this prasadam, Krishna took it, and then you're less likely to move into just the enjoying mood and have tendency to overeat. It's a fine line, because externally you may be doing the same thing, but it's your mentality that counts, and that to always maintain that as you were so nicely saying throughout, whether I'm enjoying or not on a material level, if this is what the Guru wants me to do and it's what Krishna wants me to do, then that's what I'm going to do, with the confidence that in the ultimate sense this will really bring me to a state of the ultimate enjoyment. That's the whole message of the Gita, is that Arjuna was, and what's interesting is that the whole first chapter he had all these Vedic arguments. It wasn't just his own thing, because that was part of it, but he was using the Vedic arguments to justify his own emotional argument. The head was serving the gut, so to speak, the emotions, rather than purified intelligence, strengthened by association, by hearing and so forth, controlling the lower self. But then, he's representative. He didn't just go off to the forest, and become paralyzed. He surrendered to Krishna. Now you become my intelligence. That's what it really means when you surrender to the Guru. You become my intelligence, and I'll follow you. And then he represents, and at the end is Kadashe Bachanang Tava. In spite of all of these reasons he didn't have to fight, he had the one main reason that he wasn't, I will do as you say. So to be in that mood of I will do as you say, even when it's painful, then that's how you make advancement. As you can see from Prabhu.
No. If I can just make one quick comment, is that right? Just okay. The Bhaktivinoda Thakur says we have to get into the duty mode to get to that to purify it completely. So getting into duty, it's my duty, like this is the process, and staying regulated. Sorry.
in the class, and I think it was a few days ago. It was the 421:34. It says that we are advised to perform yajna according to our material desires. Even attain to bhakti purifies the material nature of the performances. So what came to mind is when we chanting Hare Krishna, we asking Krishna to be instruments for him. So does that mean, we, like you said, we have to sacrifice to please Krishna, but also how are we instruments for others?
How are we instruments?
For others, yeah, because we asking Krishna, make me instrument, but how are we? Yes, but instruments. I mean, and ourselves as well, but also that you're saying like sometimes we by performing sacrifice we're going to suffer, endure pain, but if we know that's pleasing Krishna, so that's how we're being instruments to Krishna, even to do something that we feel, or how does Krishna reveal himself to us to be his instruments?
It has to be done through the Guru, because the Guru is expert on understanding the Vedic conclusion. He's always engaged in the Lord's service, and he's empowered in such a way to play that role. And so you have tendencies, the Guru can see that, and give you activity and make sure it's within the parameters of Krishna consciousness. And when we don't do that, it's just a mess. So we have to have a Guru. And I don't know, are you initiated? No. Who's your Guru? Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, I don't know if I answered your question properly or not, but by serving Guru, and also there can be Shiksha Gurus. There's nice advanced devotees here that could give us, some practical guidance as well. Does that answer your question, though? I don't think it did, but you're asking. Go ahead. What is the specific question? I'm sorry.
Oh, actually, there's no specific question. Kind of not.
Okay.
So you were saying that earlier. I heard that you're saying that we have to, be servants and serve and take authority. But when we go to authority, but still you feel that there's no conclusion to actually perform their seva that has to be done, and then what can one do? Go to other people, but still, if it's something is not done.
No conclusion to what? No
conclusion or resolution or something, or does not matter.
Why not? I don't understand what's the problem there.
Oh.
Because for me, I go to Guru, he tells me to do something, I just do it, and I'm happy.
Well, if you go to other authorities, more like, Guru, not disturb, the thing I think is not to disturb Guru, you go to the main authorities that are close by.
Okay. Then maybe you're thinking that maybe they're not as advanced as Guru, and they give some instructions that doesn't sit right with you or not. Well, then I think at that point, you should talk it out reasonably with them. And if it still doesn't sit right with you, then go directly to your authority, your highest authority. That's what I recommend. Something like that. In other words, we're serving. We're in the mood of service that way still. And if I had to serve a temple president that was in the movement 2 years and was on medication, and he's asking me to do something that doesn't seem most optimal to me because of my years of experience in Krishna consciousness, let's just say, then I would talk it out with him. And if he held tight to what he was saying, then I might surrender to that, or at least I would maybe ask some other senior devotees that I have faith in as to what I should do. And then I'd probably just do that. Like I'd call Brigupati Prabhu and just say, well, how should I handle this? And he'd give me some advice, and I'd apply it. Something like that. But not to choose that shiksha that, will give you what you want. Find a shiksha that will be impartial, Otherwise, we aren't really in the servant mood. Is that okay with everybody? If it passes your test on this one, I know it passed. Okay. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. Is that all right? Okay, cool. All right, we'll go over time. Srimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Thanks for tolerating me. So nice to be here. Thank you all for letting me be here and have your nice association, seriously.